BAP now on FM at 93.3. Welcome to the big show. Well, the big story today, it may not be big to you, but let me explain why you need to be interested in this. It's the Diddy trial. The Diddy trial started yesterday, and it's just jury selection here. But this isn't about Diddy. This isn't about his freak-offs. This is about having a list of elites who do terrible, demonic, horrible things, and they've been getting away with it your entire life. And just like the Epstein list, there's some people on this list that when you find out that they were part of this, I don't even want to call it debauchery because, you know, if you're a swinger and the consenting adults or whatever you do, I don't care if you got to get your foot caught in a bear trap in order to get your jollies or whatever. But whenever you have this coercion, whenever you have the drugging of people or you have minors involved who can't consent, well, then it just becomes flat out evil. Then it becomes something that turns immediately from, you know, one of the funnest times on earth to one of the most evil things you could possibly do. And that is the conundrum about sex. Consensual sex, best thing in the world. We're all big fans. I am, you are, Trina is, we all are. Non-consensual sex, straight to the wood chipper. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. You need to go to jail forever. So this is sort of that same sort of vibe where if you have been paying attention to the whole scene, which doesn't take a microscope to see, these people are known for their parties. And guess what? Rock stars and musicians and actors and, you know, professional athletes, and they have this whole level of success that you and I will never attain. They get to go to parties that you and I are never invited to, and they get to have a little more interest in, bedroom activities than the average person gets. I mean, look at me. I work in radio. Not getting a whole lot of offers now, am I? But it's that thing. It's the coercion. It's when it goes beyond. You can't just be happy with that. Now you got to be drugging people. Now you got to be getting underage participants, both male and female. The prostitution thrown in there's kind of ugly too. Gross. And so are these people going to get away with it the rest of your life? Because they've gotten away with it your entire life so far. And it's not just like a comparison. This isn't a simile where it's like the Epstein list. This very well could have a lot of overlap with the Epstein list. This could be a partial with the Epstein list. And let me tell you why I'm watching this like a hawk. Because these crabs are going to pull each other down. If one of them goes down, the incentive for them to just take everyone else with them is going to be there. And so that's probably why you saw Jeffrey Epstein die in his prison cell. Air quotes, committed suicide. Does anyone really think Epstein killed himself? And there's another sort of exciting in the opposite direction aspect. And the fact that he didn't take a plea deal, he may think he can get away with this. Why does he think he can get away? Why would he go to trial? Why would he risk going to jail for the rest of his life unless he thinks he can win? So I'm going to be heartbroken. You're going to be really disappointed if he doesn't go to jail for some of this stuff. Or, you know, if it's proven that it wasn't true, then good for him. And I'm sorry he had to go through so much just to prove his innocence. But you and I both know that's probably not the case. There's a whole lot of smoke out there for there to not be a fire. But there's going to be other people that get rolled up in this, hopefully, when he goes down. And so they're floating out names. And you got to be careful here because just because their name shows up in the trial, just like a name shows up on an Epstein flight log, doesn't mean they went to the island and did the nasty, demonic stuff with children. But let's explain some of this here. Page 6 from the New York Post was talking about some of the names that came up yesterday.
Kanye West, Kid Cudi, Michael B. Jordan. These names and other celebrities came up at day one of Diddy's sex trafficking trial in Manhattan. Those names were on a list of possible people whose names might come up at some point during what's expected to be an action-packed 2-month trial.
All right, and here's a lesson here. You heard Kanye West. Oh, he's a crazy person. He was probably doing something bad. Kid Cudi, probably don't even know him. Michael B. Jordan. Oh, man, he's a good little actor. I like him. Is he one of those nasty guys that was going to freak-offs and doing stuff with? No. See, this is what we got to be careful about. That came out yesterday, and so people were scrambling, asking him on Twitter and whatnot. Dude, is there something we need to know about your involvement in freak-offs? And some people did some digging, and the people who were at the trial had to come intervene and say, listen, that he was asked about, Michael B. Jordan was asked about to the jury pool because Cassie, Puff Daddy's girlfriend at the time in like 2015, had flirted with Michael B. Jordan. It got around to Diddy, and he called him and threatened him. I don't know if he like threatened his life or whatever, but screamed at him and made some threats. And if usually when a threat shows up in court, it's like an illegal threat, like I'm going to kill you or whatever. So don't be rolling up Michael B. Jordan into this just yet. But I have a feeling if this list gets out, and it does have overlap with the Epstein list, this could be sort of the ripcord that gets us to the Epstein list. Because it'll break my heart to find out if some of our favorite celebrities, some of our favorite musical artists, or like Leonardo DiCaprio or Tom Hanks, that was going to freak offs and doing terrible things. But the really important ones, I think, maybe at the Diddy trial, probably at the Epstein trial. I'm talking about the billionaires. I'm talking about the men of industry, the titans, the oligarchs, and I mean like literal royal family from the UK and whatnot. This could be a magical time because not only your entire life, pretty much all of human history, going back to the Egyptian pyramids, people in elite positions of power have taken advantage of that in weird, sexual, freaky ways and always gotten away with it. Are those days over? And really, what would you rather see, the Diddy list or the Epstein list? How much do you think these two lists overlap? 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Next, you'll hear from Primetime Alex Stein from The Blaze and some more details that he learned about the Diddy trial yesterday. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome to the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Yesterday, the Diddy trial started. And with all that's going on, you know, it's easy to kind of be dismissive of this. Oh, it's just celebrity gossip. No, this is not celebrity gossip. This is the potential for a list of people who have been living in this higher level, this unaccountable level of elites that have been getting away with doing horrible things to children and young ladies and drugging them. And it was just all in the name of debauchery, really. Is that age over? Are these people for the first time in human history going to be held accountable? Because this could lead to, I bet you some of the same people on this list are on the Epstein list. What do you think? 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. If we just start pulling on this string, like what all is going to unravel? That's the first question for my next guest. You know him as Prime Time, Alex Stein from Blaze Media and city council meetings everywhere. Welcome back to the show, Alex.
James, thank you for having me. And, I agree with this Puff Daddy thing. The people that are connected to him are some of the most powerful people in the world. So I'm just curious to see what is actually going to come out in this trial because, you saw that video of Puff Daddy beating up I think it was his fiance at the time, and it was a horrible video. And he never went to jail for that. And that's because he was, had a lot of power and influence, and maybe he was an informant. So I don't know. I'm very curious to see what comes out in this upcoming trial. But I'm also skeptical and a little black pill, James, and that we won't get anything, just like with the Epstein list as well.
Well, define the term black pilled for people who aren't terminally online like we are.
Well, black pills were just kind of hopeless, and we just kind of know that even though the conservatives are good and the Democrats are bad, it's kind of just all one big uniparty, and at the end of the day, we're toast either way. Right. So I don't know, and I try not to stay in that negative mind frame, but there are some things where I get in that kind of mindset. It's like, are we going to get actual transparency? Like, and it's just, I don't know if that's a real possibility, especially if these people are so powerful and they run the media, they might be able to protect themselves.
Well, I wanted to have you on because you had some interesting insight, and I heard it on, of all places, Alex, you were on Sky News Australia. First, how did that happen? You hang out in Australia a lot?
I'm a contributor. I'm a regular guest on Sky News. Yeah, I used to be a paid contributor, then I signed with the Blaze. But yeah, I go on Rita's show weekly. That I love. The people at Sky News are great.
It's hilarious.
And I love
of all the people, the guy that clowns our city councils around here is our spokesman to the other side of the planet. That is hilarious.
Well, that's why they like me. That's why they like me, James. They like that I make fun of American stuff. You know what I mean? That's why, honestly,
yeah, that's why I like you too. Look, one of the points you made, though, that I heard first from you, how weird is this, is the fact that he even took this to trial and turned down all the plea deals, because they were throwing plea deals at him, means he probably thinks he can get off on, and well, that's probably the wrong terminology. He could beat he's not going to be found guilty.
Well, I mean, let's look at what he is on trial for. I'm not an expert in this. I don't know his attorney. What if he was doing stuff with children and and Justin Bieber, all that? I don't think that he's on trial for that. I think he's on trial for having crazy parties with adults, and I could be wrong. So you have a jury of his peers in New York City that all love Puff Daddy, even the whites, blacks, Latinos. It doesn't matter. Everybody knows Puff Daddy from a time where I think he's going to get a favorable jury, similar to like O.J. Simpson. So unless they have evidence of him doing something repugnant with a child, or they're going to show him beating up his girlfriend. But even then, I feel like the jury might still be sympathetic to Puff Daddy. So I don't know. He would not be going to trial. Puff Daddy, he might be down as bad as he's ever been, but he would not be going to trial if he didn't think he had a chance. Everybody makes a deal, and I'd imagine that they gave him a good deal. You know what I mean? I don't think that they would give him some half-hearted offer.
Well, I learned something new. People have been reading into the lawsuits, the civil lawsuits that were filed about him. So this didn't even come from the trial. But ABC 7 in New York had reported on Rohypnol in baby oil. Let me play you this, and I'll get your response.
Back in March of last year, Homeland Security agents raided Combs' $40 million home in Holmby Hills. They also raided another home in Miami on exclusive Star Island. Prosecutors claimed during the raids, federal agents seized more than 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant. Some of the complaints allege baby oil was laced with Rohypnol, which is known as the date rape drug. The central witness is Cassie Ventura, Combs' ex-girlfriend. This 2016 video obtained by CNN shows Combs kicking and dragging Ventura.
Yeah. So we saw that Rohypnol and baby oil. It still works if you put it in baby oil and rub it on you. I think I just learned that today, Alex.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a drug expert, but that does sound fake to me. Like, I mean, I'm sure he had 1,000 bottles of baby oil, but I don't know if it's a crime to have baby oil. And I'm not even trying to white knight for him. Maybe they were mixing drugs with baby oil to knock these people out. But I'd imagine, and this is what I said from the beginning, and I'll always say this, because if I got invited to a Puff Daddy party, I would have gone. I know people that worked with Puff Daddy. They didn't do anything weird. But, you know, these people probably went to these parties willingly. Were there drugs there? I'm sure. Were people laced with drugs? I think that happens all over the world, and I'm not trying to defend Puff Daddy whatsoever. I mean, he was the one that was facilitating all this. But at the same time, I don't know if it's as evil as the media is saying it is. I think that, like, what we need to get on the Puff Daddy issue, we need to know if anything was done to children. We need to know, if people were manipulated, if they used blackmail, if they filmed this, because that's the real crux of all this. They said that they filmed all this. So is LeBron James doing something weird? Because that's what we want. Nobody cares if somebody snorted ecstasy and danced all night that stuff's not good. But we want to know real crime. I want to know something that really happened. Personally, if they just tell me that he had these wild parties, that doesn't surprise me for Hollywood. And I don't think that those people went there without intentions of having a wild time.
Do you think there's much overlap with the Diddy parties and the Epstein list?
Well, I think there's a little bit because, it sounds crazy, but it was Hillary Clinton that connected the vote or die with Puff Daddy back in the 90s and then the early 2000s. So it wouldn't be that far-fetched to think that Puff Daddy or Bill Clinton I don't know how close they're connected, but we know that publicly they've had a relationship and that he has helped the Democratic Party with campaigning through major elections. Arguably the vote or die. You remember that, James? We're about the same age. You remember how big that campaign was? Like, now kids don't remember that, but that was like on MTV every second. Vote or die, and it was Puff Daddy, and it was all these,
and Paris Hilton.
Everybody. And so he was a big part of that. So obviously he was connected with politicians, and that's why they do this. That's why they put these people in these compromisable situations with underage people or with sex workers. It's in order to use it as blackmail later on. And I wouldn't be surprised in the music industry, at Puff Daddy, these videos, I'm sure they were used as blackmail. And if that would happen, then Puff Daddy deserves to go to jail. But if Puff Daddy just kind of threw some wild parties, I don't know how. I think I need some more evidence to throw him in jail for the rest of his life.
All true. However, if these things do pan out and he was filming it in order to blackmail people, that sounds like the exact same thing Jeffrey Epstein was doing. And it was almost, if you take them in tandem, Epstein was going after the politicians and P. Diddy was going after the celebrities. And if you can get all of the elites in those two major arenas on the dole or on the program, you can pretty much control the world.
No, you're right. And then you think about Epstein was connected to all these scientists, and then Puff Daddy's connected with all these athletes. So you almost get you really don't, when it comes to the influential list of people, there's no box unchecked when it comes to the connections that Puff Daddy and Jeffrey Epstein had. So I don't know. I'd like to get some transparency. At the same time, as a kid that grew up listening to Puff Daddy, it's sad to think he is in jail. R. Kelly, the top R&B artist, he is in jail. It's crazy. My childhood, all these people from my childhood were – and this is the last thing I'll say, James, and this is going to freak your audience out. Michael Jackson was investigated for 19 years by the FBI. I don't believe that he was a predator that they accused him of being. But it's crazy. Now we have Puff Daddy and R. Kelly. They are predators. So it's just – gosh, why is every famous person – have a checkered past like this, James? You
don't think Michael Jackson was a predator?
I do not. I know it sounds crazy. No, listen, let me give you this 30-second thing. James Safechuck and Wade Robinson, they're the two people that said in the documentary that they were, sexually molested by Michael Jackson. Well, Wade Robinson was two different times, was the lead character witness for Michael Jackson in criminal cases that civil cases that Michael Jackson always won. He never lost a case, was investigated by the FBI for 19 years, never found any evidence. Real quick.
Okay.
Real quick. The guy that said that he was molested was his lead character witness two different times. Michael Jackson would not have put somebody as his lead character witness two times if he sexually molested him, and Macaulay Culkin and Corey Feldman. And
Alex,
also that they spent
you
the
want to
night
just
with him and didn't
continue
do
this in
anything.
6 minutes? Hang on. Alex Stein on the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome back to the James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. We continue with primetime Alex Stein from your Twitter feed and Blaze TV. And Alex Stein, you were given the short version of why you think Michael Jackson didn't touch all those little kids. And I've got an email and a YouTube message almost instantly saying MJ didn't molest those kids, bro. You're not the only one on this train.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so let me just get into the quick rundown.
And then we'll get back to the news of the day. But yes, go ahead.
Yes, but everybody loves this. Everybody loves this, James, because there's documentaries all debunking that one, Leaving Neverland, and the documentarian that did that has been exposed as being a fraud. So real quick, Wade Robinson, he's the main guy that said that he was sexually molested by Michael Jackson. Well, it's funny that in the documentary he said that all this happened when Michael Jackson chose him to be his lead character witness twice. And Michael Jackson at one point had Johnny Cochran as his attorney. I mean, Michael Jackson had the world's top attorneys. And there's multiple people. Yes, it is weird that you have people like Macaulay Culkin said that he would sleep in his bedroom. But you have to remember that Michael Jackson had what was called arrested development. He became a celebrity at the age of 5 years old, so he never got to have a childhood. So he only really kind of resonated with children because, he was just such a bizarre guy, and he did have some mental health issues. But the idea that Michael Jackson was going around the world and hurting kids is insane. And his charities that he did in Africa and all over the world, he raised millions upon millions of dollars feeding hungry people. So the idea that Michael Jackson was like this evil child molester, it's just provably false. And then James Safechuck, the other guy that said that he was molested in the documentary, he said that he was sexually molested by Michael Jackson in the famous train house. Everybody knows the train house at Neverland. It's, and it's an iconic thing. Everybody's seen that in pop culture. But it's funny because the year that he said that it happened, not only was the train house not built, but they even reached out to the architect. The architectural plans had not even been drawn for the house. So their stories do not add up. And there was one person he paid, Jordy Chandler, that he paid off because he didn't want to, he just didn't want it to go civilly. It was the first one. And he wanted to fight it, but his attorney said, hey, let's just pay it off. It's easier, said than done to just pay it off. And Johnny Cochran was actually one of the attorneys that wanted to fight it. Well, that Jordy Chandler, his father, and it was his stepfather that pushed Jordy Chandler and was the one that was kind of pushing all this. They ended up becoming estranged immediately, and the father ended up killing himself. He was a decent dentist, and they say that guy had a lot of guilt. Yes, it's a crazy story that Jordy Chandler, the one person that Michael Jackson only ever paid one child, and on top of that, there was one other child that said that he was. You got to look up this kid. I forget this kid's name because I don't even want to say his name. This kid said that Michael Jackson cured his cancer. His whole family said that, and then about 6 months go by, and Michael Jackson's not helping his family anymore. And then all of a sudden, he was molested. That ended up being provably false. There was no evidence for that. And just when you look at Michael Jackson, he was investigated by the FBI. They had these rumors about him. At the same exact time, he was the first person to say the media was lying. And me as a conspiracy theorist, I'm sorry I'm getting so hyped up, me as a crazy person, he was actually right. He was telling us then that the media can paint a story through the tabloids and assassinate somebody's character without any evidence. He was investigated. He never went to jail for it. And yet he was guilty by the court of public opinion. And you look at somebody like Donald Trump, the media loves him, then he becomes president, and the media totally changes. So he was the first.
Well, it's not for nothing because of all the weird relationships he had with minors. Were any of them girls? And also, we have just seen, and I mean, everybody listening to us right now has seen someone in their own lives that thought he's a little bit of weirdo, but I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. And then years later, you hear, oh, he actually did do some untoward things, the sexually speaking. And you're like, I should have trusted my instinct. I was being too nice. And I think that's what a lot of people see in Michael Jackson. But
real quick, though, maybe he wasn't with little girls because he thought that might be even more inappropriate. You know what I mean? Because he was a heterosexual male. And I don't know if this is true or not, but there are women, and you got to go look at this documentary. I don't know, that supposedly knew Michael Jackson when he was 20 and the Thriller days when he was coming up. And we're on the radio, so I'm not going to say anything that crazy. They said Michael Jackson was an incredible lover and that they enjoyed and there was multiple women that have said that they had relationship with Michael Jackson, and all of them were complimentary.
So did P. Diddy. But listen, back to the P. Diddy thing. If he gets found guilty and goes to prison, I'm kind of interested to see if he ends up in Alcatraz, Alex, because Trump floated this idea of reopening Alcatraz. Now, it needs to be remodeled, But I saw a great idea online, and I've just been kind of building on it. Let's make a celebrity prison, and we could have tours. Like let's remodel it, let's build it in such a way that people could pay to go see. And we could have P Diddy in there, you have R Kelly in there, you could have the Tiger King in there, Joe Exotic, maybe Jared from Subway. So
I love this. I love this idea. And even though these are some, sick, twisted people, America is about second chances. I'm not saying we need to give the subway guy that many second chances, but, I do kind of like the idea of trying to utilize their talent and not letting it all go to waste, while also simultaneously telling a story that people can learn from their mistakes so that they don't make them in the future.
well, you could put cameras in there and you could have live streaming. You could just drop in on it like the Truman Show, or maybe just make a hell of a reality show. This prison would pay for itself, Alex.
Oh, it would. It would be a huge success. And Donald Trump he's a mega superstar when it comes to reality TV. I mean, The Apprentice was a great show. So, he could team up with Mark Burnett again and make this thing a reality. I
right,
like that.
yeah.
But real quick though, James, one thing we do need to give credit for, and he needs to give you and I some more rub, but at least Donald Trump's letting all these influencers and people have access to the White House. I think that's incredible. That
Love
makes
it.
me so happy.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just love it so much.
All right, primetime Alex Stein. Where do we find some of your good work outside of WBAP these days?
Guys, find me on Blaze TV, Primetime with Alex Stein. You can watch it for free on YouTube as well. And then I'm on Twitter, at AlexStein99. Give me a follow. And on Instagram, Primetime Stein. Thank you for having me, James.
There he is. Primetime Alex Stein on The James Show. Coming up next, Trump posted a picture of himself as the Pope. You're told you're supposed to be offended by that. Are you? Or do you just think it's funny? I think it's hilarious. I'll tell you why next on The James Show. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. I'm going to go dress up as the Pope. We'll be right back on The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome back to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3 Christians. Donald Trump posted an AI-generated picture of himself in the Pope's costume over the weekend. Do you find that offensive? Newsflash, I don't. I did enjoy being told I'm supposed to be offended. I did enjoy being told, oh, yeah, you're a real Christian, but you'll just stand by while your real cult leader mocks your religion. He's not mocking my religion. Number one, I'm not Catholic. So seeing a dude dressed up like a chess piece, that's foreign to me. I don't associate with that at all. When I go to church, we don't do that weird sing talk thing. And my mom's family is Catholic, so I've got enough overlap. I know the difference. I know which one I am. Making fun of the Pope means nothing to me. Absolutely nothing. Sean in the next booth could be wearing a Pope hat right now. I wouldn't even notice for an hour. So no, I'm not offended. And number two, we're not the sensitive ones. We're not the ones that get butthurt when someone uses the wrong words, or that was offensive, or that was not inclusive, or shut up. Don't tell me when to be offended. You guys are offended at straws. I'm a Christian. I know when I should get offended at the way people treat Christianity. And number three, a lot of these are the same people that don't say boo about the Handmaid's Tale or the Righteous Gemstones or actual defamation of Christianity when it happens right in front of their face. Not that I'm all offended that I'm not offended at the shows either. As a Christian, I'm not impressed or I'm not happy that the Handmaid's Tale it makes a mockery of my religion and just takes it to some extreme, non-existent level in order to specifically to gin up antipathy toward my religion. I think you're pieces of garbage for doing that, but it's actually a pretty good show. And if you tell a good story and you make it entertaining and good acting really is in that, I can bypass some of that. I'm not going to lose any sleep over the Handmaid's Tale. But let me ask you this. What is the Handmaid's Tale equivalent for other religions? Is there a dystopian future series about when the crazy Islamists take over and start oppressing women? Because that would be a little more believable, seeing as how right now in 2025 on planet Earth, they are oppressing women. Like every Muslim majority country does not give women their full complement of human rights like the United States does. But no, if we're going to make a dystopian future about a repressive religious theocracy, we got to make fun of the Christians. All right. Well, now you're just gutless. Now you just don't like Christians. Now you're petty little punks, and we see right through it. Or look, go on the positive side. Are you familiar with the Righteous Gemstones? I haven't seen one episode, but I'm probably going to watch all of it because I'm a big fan of Walt Goggins. And really, what's the guy from Eastbound and Down? Why can't I remember his name? Oh my God, I love that guy. He's so funny in everything he touches. The guy who played Kenny Powers. Garrett, are you any good over there? What's his name? I'm going to get 28 text messages in about 30 seconds. But the Righteous Gemstones, thank you. Oh, my God. Give yourself 10 points for that one. Danny McBride, the guy's a genius. He's a role model. And really, I've just tried to be Kenny Powers ever since I saw that TV show. But anyway, that aside, they're making fun of televangelists, TV preachers who lie and exploit their audience to raise a whole bunch of money and live this luxurious, lavish lifestyle. I'm sure it's hilarious. Now, it's not very flattering toward Christianity, but really, where's the TV shows that make fun of other religions? Is there only one religion you people make fun of? Oh, and it happens to be Christianity? So, I'm supposed to believe you when you tell me I'm supposed to be offended as a Christian by Trump in a Pope hat. Why is that hard to say? Are you offended by that? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Isn't that weird? Here, think about it like this too. Go through your entire Netflix menu, go through your entire Amazon Prime menu, and tell me where's the positive shows about Christianity. Is there any show where a preacher is a protagonist? And I mean made in the last 30 years. Don't tell me when George Jefferson had Amen in 1988. See, they're not totally anti-Christian. The what? Pure Flix? Okay, but that's certainly not on is that on Netflix? Oh, it is on Netflix. It's not there's a subset of Netflix called Pure Flix. I thought that was a competing company that was totally not connected to Netflix at all. All right. Well, so they have to put it in its own like special category. It's like when you went to the video store when you were a kid and there was that curtained off room in the back. They used to keep the debauchery there. Now they keep the Christianity back there and all the debauchery's in the main room, I guess is how it goes now. Okay. Good deal. Well, thank you for correcting me on that. Take away 3 points for embarrassing me in public. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, I don't think anyone that is a Christian that was supporting Trump was offended by that. Now, I have seen people make posts on there saying, oh, man, I have this friend who has been a Trumper for like the last 10 years, and this was the last straw. He saw Trump in the Pope outfit, and he's like, just as a Christian, that offends me. It's like, that didn't really happen, bro. I'll take things that didn't happen for 200, Alex, because that definitely did not happen. And look, I'm sitting here fielding emails and messages, and not one person who's a Trump supporter is going to say that offends them. Now, are they all lying, or are we really not the sensitive people who are looking for a way to get offended? Smacky over here says Seventh Heaven. What was that, 1992? I didn't see that, by the way. I didn't have cable when I was growing up, so I have like some pop culture holes. But yeah, there's a whole industry out there that loves making fun of Christianity and was pretending like you should be offended by Trump in a Pope outfit. And I don't know, that entertained me so good. I just can't believe these people, when they try and convince you, you should really be offended. Well, I'm not. Now what? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Trump wants to remodel and reopen Alcatraz. I want to take some suggestions on that coming up next on The James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Well, hey, homeowners, with all the rain that we just got today, your roof should be on the top of your mind, not just your house, but on your mind as well. See what I did there? Look, don't just trust me. I want you to go to Google and I want you to read some of the 5-star reviews. And I've been telling you to do that for a few months, but you haven't done it yet, right? Well, that's okay. I know you're busy. I don't do what commercials tell me to half the time anyway. But let me read one of the 5-star reviews for you. This came from last month, April 8th. Blue Ribbon Roofing is the best. We did not understand how the insurance process works. We do now. John, Tish, and Trevor not only called our claim in, but also met the claim representative at our house, got us paid for a new roof, new gutters, and staining on our fence. I didn't know that was even on the table. Blue Ribbon Roofing does. Doris says, we have several properties, and we will always use Blue Ribbon. So you don't have to just trust me or Bob on the ticket or Casey in the morning. Doris trusted Blue Ribbon and was very happy with it. So go to blueribbondfw.com so you can work with a local family-run company here in North Texas, and they will be here. If anything goes wrong, they'll still be in business to come back and take care of it. But here's a little secret. You're probably not going to have anything wrong. They've got crews that have been with them for years. They're not just picking up guys that morning and throwing them on your roof. They do everything right, and you can find out yourself. Go to blueribbondfw.com. Tell them you heard it on The James Show. If you do need a new roof, you get a free ridge vent ventilation upgrade. blueribbondfw.com. Hello, fellow Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. I know. Good to see you, too. Good to see you, too. How's the economy doing? How are things going that affect your money? Let's ask EJ Antoni. Keep it going for EJ Antoni from the Heritage Foundation. Thank you very much. Welcome back.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for having me.
I know the crowd's a little excited today. We've all been stuck inside because of the weather here. So let's jump right into the economy. Is there an economic announcement coming before the trip that Donald Trump has taken to the Middle East? He's like, I have a very big, very important, huge announcement. It's going to be big. It's going to be magnificent, believe me. But I don't know what this is about. Do you have any insight on that? Because my spidey sense says it may be economic.
I honestly, from even when I talk to all my contacts, whether they're on the Hill, in the administration, whatever the case may be, folks literally have absolutely no idea what this is about or in what this is in regards to. So we are just all basically as much on pins and needles as you are. We literally just have no idea where this is going. I mean, it's kind of par for the course, quite frankly, with
Sure.
this administration, where everything is developing, not just day by day, but hour by hour, sometimes minute by minute. I will say the last I talked to folks in the Treasury, which was just a day or two ago, we are getting very, very close to having some trade deals done with major partners like India, for example. So that's all very, very good news.
Gold jumped up to a new record high today. Is there any cause for concern on that front?
Well, absolutely, because people are increasingly looking for a safe haven. They're looking for a safe haven in terms of a store of value. They're not confident that the economy is going to keep trucking along, so they're flocking to gold. But they're also worried about future inflation. They're worried about a lot of inflation, I guess you could say, finally getting priced in. In other words, just because things were done a year or even 2 years ago that were inflationary doesn't mean the full impact of those policies has actually worked its way through the market. And so it wasn't until, for example, Biden had already left office that we saw gold continue to hit new high after new high, despite the fact that a lot of the reason for that, those increases, were the fact that he spent trillions of dollars we didn't have.
One of the big traders from Goldman Sachs, EJ Antoni, said that he's moving from neutral to bullish on the stock market. How can he possibly know if this is the bottom until the tariff deals get worked out?
Well, that's why we call these things a bear trap, because people start thinking, all right, this has got to be the bottom, and it's only up from here. Meanwhile, these upswings are oftentimes short coverings or temporary changes in position. People, in other words, thinking it's the bottom, thinking we're going to go back up, but then all of a sudden we turn back down. Most infamously, this happened in 1930 after the stock market had crashed in 29. It ended up gaining back most of its lost ground, so that if you had bought stocks in the beginning of 1929, by the beginning of 1930, you were essentially flat on the year, despite the giant drop in October. So people started buying back in. And then, of course, after the Hawley-Smoot Tariff Act was signed in June of 1930, everything really went south.
Oh, wow. So we had some herky-jerky movements in the market. A whole bunch of tariffs were added on. That doesn't sound familiar at all.
No, not at all, right? And see, this is part of the problem where, the markets were doing okay before these tariffs were announced on April 2nd, but then everything fell off a cliff because we were promised over and over again that these tariffs weren't going to look anything like what we saw in the 1930s. And in fact, they very much resemble them. And these are actually the largest tariffs since the Great Depression. So there's a reason why markets have been so concerned. Of course, President Trump is banking on other nations not willing to go toe-to-toe with the U.S. in a trade war, and them coming to the negotiating table so that we never actually have to implement these tariffs. Because if we do, it would be a hell of a lot of economic pain.
EJ Antoni, Heritage Foundation. I just asked you about gold getting to an all-time high. On the other side of the chart, we have oil sinking below $60 a barrel. And while that's good for us at the pump, down here in Texas, that kind of makes us nervous. Is oil too cheap?
Oh, goodness. For a lot of our producers, it is right now. And you have to ask, okay, how can we make these markets viable for these producers. In other words, we want consumers to have very cheap energy, but we also want our great energy producers to make money. Well, you have to essentially cut the regulatory burden, and you have to cut the tax burden on those folks so that a well that's profitable at, let's say, $70 a barrel becomes profitable at $40 a barrel. That's on the federal government. Now, in some instances, yes, it's on the state government. New York State, for example, makes it impossible, literally, to get anything out of the ground in terms of horizontal drilling. But still, even if you just want to look at the national level, there is a lot of ground to be made up there. There are a lot of things we can do to help our drillers, to help our energy producers bring product to market at a lower price.
Well, EJ Antonio, I appreciate your time again. When you were on last time, you were right. I saw you on Fox Business like 45 minutes later. So I'm honored you spent some time with us. Thank you, sir.
I'll be on in about 15 minutes or so.
Oh, all right. You're going to be on with Kudlow again? Tell him I said hi. I'm a big fan.
I certainly will, sir.
Right. There's just some rando in Dallas who loves your work, Larry. Okay, thank you. Your thoughts on the economy? Do you trust this rebound? Do you think that it's going to continue to make new record highs pretty soon? Or is this a little false floor that's about to fall out from under us and we're going to go right back down again? 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. I'm going to make the case that nobody really knows coming up next on The James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome back to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. We're just talking about the headlines that affect your money. We were asking EJ Antoni, do you think this is, do you trust this rebound? Because the markets, they did fall about almost 20% across the board there. We've recovered more than half of that. Now, is this going to be for real? Are we about to start breaking new records, or are we about to start on a downturn? I don't think anybody really knows, but it's fun to talk about. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. I think it's going to be on the way up, but I do have to throw in some caveats there. I'll explain after we talk to Alan in Athens. You're next up on WBAP. What do you think, Alan?
Well, I'm just kind of wondering. So if I got 3 oil wells on my location on my property, why do I got to throw that into the global thing? Why every ounce of oil that we pump out of our ground, why do we have to give? Why do we got to go with the global price? That's our oil. We don't have to. I mean, who started that? Where we got to throw it in the pot for everybody.
No one actually started that. It's just an inherent law of economics, and I don't mean like of Austrian economics. It's just a law of economics. Period. We're in anything where a good can cross borders. We're in a global market on it, so we're not in a global market.
Why are we in the global? Why don't we keep all our oil for us to help everybody else?
Well, because there's a couple of things. Either we don't make enough oil on a daily basis to satisfy our needs, and so we have to buy it from somewhere, Canada, Mexico, who cares?
Well,
or we make too much, and so you can only store so much, so we're going to sell the excess on the market to somebody else.
Okay, so we need to get our strategic oil supply back up. So all our extra needs to go into that and tell everybody else until we get ours back up. We're not selling jack.
Well, it doesn't matter if we sell jack or not. If we are, the price isn't really going to be affected. Period. Point blank. Because even if we didn't have enough, and you got to turn around and you got to buy it from somewhere else, are you going to buy it from the most expensive person or from the least expensive person? The least expensive. All other things being equal. And so the price is going to be fixed across the entire planet. If you want to be in the market to buy or sell oil, you have to go in at the price that everyone else is agreeing to.
But if we buy, why are we buying oil if we produce enough that we're selling it, but our gas prices are up?
Well, so we did that for a brief time, and I'm glad you're asking this question because we didn't have answers to this for all of our life until a small window of opportunity during Trump 1.0, during his first term. Do you remember when oil went negative for a month? And
yes.
Okay, so your actual hypothetical actually happened about 5 years ago. We made so much oil that we covered all of our use and we had excess. And so then we started storing it all. And then all of the storage facilities in America, most of which are in Cushing, Oklahoma, for some reason, that's just where a bunch of pipelines intersect.
Correct.
And when Cushing was full, then we had to put it in oil tankers and just float them offshore a little bit because we had nowhere else to put it. And then when another tanker came into the United States, not only did we have nowhere to put it, we didn't have any more oil tankers to offload it onto, and we really didn't have a place for you guys to spend a long time hanging out. So they paid someone to take that oil off of their hands. So that's what happens is
okay. So Biden gave all our oil away, or he sold it all off, and it's in his checking account in Hunter Biden's laptop.
No.
Anyway,
that's
I think every person in the United States should have a 1,000-gallon storage tank, and we'll put oil behind your house.
What advantage would that be?
We don't. Well, that way if we need it, we can go get oil from us. We don't have to go to Saudi Arabia or Venezuela or
Look, I have no problem buying oil from
Sure.
overseas if we can't make enough to
Correct.
satisfy our own wishes. And you know what? Most countries on Earth
Well,
don't have the
see,
privilege that we have of even trying to be energy independent. You know, France doesn't have oil. Japan doesn't have oil.
Well,
And so,
then
go ahead.
okay. So we need to build more swimming pools to keep oil in.
Go
And-
ahead. Go no, and
and-
look, there's a place for that. If you're an entrepreneur who's looking to make money, the oil storage business can be lucrative if you do it
Correct.
right. So if you see an opening in the marketplace, go knock it out. Go make that money for us.
Correct. I mean, I understand that part. I'm just wondering if we got so much that we got to sell it. Why are we buying it from anybody?
Yeah, there's still going to be a buy in and sell
We should just
mechanism.
store it.
Even if we make enough that covers all of us, for some reason we're still going to be importing it from somewhere because someone didn't want the
why?
West Texas
Why?
Intermediate crude. They wanted the light sweet crude because they're going to crack it in these ethylene domes and they're going to make some specific type of plastic or whatever. So that look,
Correct.
it's a market, and that's not a bad thing. We don't need to be 100% independent in all of our important commodities. What you're describing is an economic phenomenon called autarky. AUT. Just I'm about out of time. So there's a good Wikipedia page on that.
Well, I'm
autarky.
just saying,
Go
if
look.
we got enough oil, we shouldn't have to buy it, and we shouldn't have to share it.
You know,
it's ours. We get to keep it.
You're more right than you think. Now you're being pretty reductive and simple with it, but you're right. There's no excuse for us to not have a surplus of oil and for us having the problem of we're running out of places to put it. That was nice when it happened 6 years ago or 5 years ago or whenever that was. But we can't just shut ourselves off and say, well, we're not going to buy or trade in this important commodity because it's too important for us on a national security level or an economic level. No. You're going after another economic fallacy. Not that it doesn't exist. It just hasn't worked out as well as global trade, or at least somewhat global free trade. Go look up autarky and why it's not actually advantageous for you to be 100% solely reliant on what you can produce. You're going to lower everyone's standard of living, and you're pretty much just going to be Amish. You know, they have a lower standard of living because they don't trade much with the outside world. So our standard of living is a lot more luxurious and prosperous because of the trade that comes because we don't pursue autarky. Man, I could talk about this all day. I hope I'm not nerding out too hard. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Coming up next, I'll explain why no one really knows where the economy is going to be in 6 months. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. We're just talking about the headlines that affect your money right now. And in the economic realm, Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, was testifying in front of Congress this morning. It's weird, not testifying, he's just being interviewed. It's not like it's a court case. Man, I hate it when I repeat the sensational language of media, but I caught myself on that one. He made an interesting point here. So the first quarter GDP, gross domestic product, came in at 0.3 to the negative, so negative 0.3. And your Treasury Secretary told Congress this morning that he believes that number will be revised up. You know how there's revisions a month from now and then 2 months from now, and then there will be the final print coming up in the next GDP or the 2 GDP reports from now. They'll stop revising it eventually. So to explain it, here's just a clip of Scott Bessent talking to Congress this morning.
The acceptance of a recession in the short term. Do you believe we're in a recession now?
Congressman, I believe in data, and there is nothing in the data that shows that we are in a recession. As a matter of fact, the jobs report has surprised to the upside.
The job report, of course, less than the average for the Biden administration last in 2024. But the GDP went down this first quarter of the Trump administration. If we have a negative growth in the second quarter, which is, I suppose, the traditional definition of a recession, would you agree that we are in that recession of which the president speaks?
Congressman, these economic numbers are noisy and subject to substantial revision. So I, having looked at a detailed analysis, would believe that the first quarter GDP would be revised upward. And I would also, with regards to your remark about where we were last year, we were spending 6.7%. We had a 6.7% fiscal deficit, the largest we've ever had during peacetime or non-recessionary times. So the easy thing would be to keep spending, to keep the economy running on an unsustainable path of government spending.
So that's interesting now, because here's the ugly little truth. Scott was using some language in there that kind of put some gray area in it, and he has to. He was doing the right thing there because nobody really knows what the economy is going to be in 6 months, because it could be drastically different depending on how these tariff talks work out. What if we don't work out a deal with China? Also in that hearing, Scott Bessent said we're having trade negotiations with 17 of our top 18 trade partners. So who's the 18th? That would be China right now, actually. Neither side will admit that they're talking, but someone's got to be talking to somebody else. And if these China deals get announced next week, the market has all the excuse in the world to shoot up. And I hope it does. That's the optimistic view. But if China wants to play hardball, if Xi Jinping can somehow quiet the dissent within his ranks and he wants to play the long game, or even if he gets replaced and the new guy comes in on a platform of resisting the evil American empire, this really could drag us into a recession. We might not get that number revised up. We might be followed with another quarter of negative GDP growth, would trigger the layman's definition of a recession here. So let me go ahead and tell you that anyone speaking with certainty and not using that language, like I believe that the data indicates that, not putting some sort of qualifier in it, they're trying to sell you something. They're speaking in hyperbole at this point. Because I'm a radio talk show host. I love putting my opinion down and I love putting my stamp down. I could tell you right now the economy is going to be a rocket ship in 6 months. Or there's, many other channels. I can tell you right now the economy is crashing and this guy is ruining the American pocketbook. Both of those people are lying to you. They don't know. They're cheerleading or doom leading, whatever the opposite of cheerleading is. But you got to be very careful of the people that are speaking with absolute certainty in times like this. You know, this is one of the parts of Donald Trump that makes him not a politician so much as a salesman. And, you know, politicians do it too, but it's a sales job. Donald Trump will never tell you in 6 months from now, the economy will be marginally better. No, it'll be great. It'll be magnificent. It'll be the most beautiful economy the world's ever seen. I know it. You know it. Everyone knows it. Believe me. That's what he says about everything. It's either the greatest in the world or the worst in the world. Hey, some actor criticized you. What's your response to that? He's terrible. He's fake. He's a fraud. He's washed up. His movies are terrible. He's not even a good actor. I know it. You know it. Everybody knows it. Believe me. Well, an actor said something nice about you. Oh, he's great. He's wonderful. He's a fantastic actor. Everyone loves him. I love him. Everyone loves him. You know it. I know it. Everyone knows it. Believe me. So, look, don't listen to the politicians. The guys in the media, this is our job to try and fish through that and give you a solid answer. I am just so disappointed with how many people are swearing that we're in a recession right now. Because, dude, you can't possibly know that. And it betrays logic that you're saying things with such certainty that can be turned around and used against you in 6 months. Because for all these people that are saying the economy's fantastic, or I'm sorry, the economy's crashing, we're going to have a montage that you're going to hear on the James Show before Christmas, rubbing it in these people's faces. Just like they said, Joe Biden is sharp as a tack, or Jussie Smollett got attacked, or that's Hunter Biden's laptop is Russian disinformation. We're gonna have another montage in about 6 months of all these people who are trying to doom talk the economy. But part of me thinks that maybe they really believe this. Maybe they're just saying whatever they think makes Trump look the worst. Or maybe they're writing fan fiction for the edification of the people who they've already been training like last 9-10 years to hate Trump. And here's your daily dose of Trump hatred. This disguised as economic news, disguised as nonpartisan, just objective reporting. All signs indicate that the economy is going to be terrible. All right, keep saying that. We'll hold you accountable, and we'll be making fun of you on the James Show about Thanksgiving or Christmas or so. Is that what you think? Do you trust this rebound? Do you think the stock market's about to take another dive, or do you think we're about to break new records? Because if these trade deals get announced, and that's a big if is doing a lot of heavy lifting in that sentence, if these new trade deals get announced soon, we will be in an economic rocket ship. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Agree? Disagree? I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey, welcome back to the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Well, my next story is kind of a continuation and update of a story we were talking about yesterday, and that's the student loan repayment. They've been on hiatus since COVID started, and so now after half a decade, people are going to start having them forced into paying their student loans. So you've been able to pay this entire time. You've been able to go ahead and make your monthly payment. Some people have paid off their student loans in the last 5 years. But there have been a lot of people who took that time to not get caught up, to not save up, to not readjust their finances. They were just going to coast as long as the taxpayers let them coast. And now we're not going to let them coast anymore. And so with the May 5th deadline passing yesterday, the addition that we had right after the James Show is someone was asking the Trump administration a direct question. Are y'all going to start garnishing paychecks and stuff like that again? And they said, yeah, about the time we get through with some of this paperwork, as soon as this summer, people will start having checks withheld for past due student loan payments. And so the government can jump into your Social Security payments. They can jump into your tax return. And student loan debt is hard to discharge. It's been given a special protection that you can't even get rid of in bankruptcy. If you went to the moon, if Elon Musk made a colony on Mars and you went to Mars, they would still garnish your paycheck from planet Earth to go for your student loan. Now, there are some real concerns here for us that don't have student loans. A lot of these people who are in default could be around 5 million immediately, but after a few months, about 10 million people are on the cusp of default. That's 10 million people who are going to have less money to spend in your cash registers, to spend at your business, to go get, I don't know, back to school clothes or go out to eat at a restaurant or whatever your business does. You're going to get less and less of that as time goes on until these people start getting it paid off. Now, is that going to be enough that it would wreck the economy? Doubt it. Doubt it. Some people are going to hurt. Maybe the bottle service at the back of the club is going to hurt for a few years until some of these people get caught up. But this is another one of those things that, yes, there will be a little bit of economic pain, but it's something that you have to go through in order to right the ship. You know what else is not cool? Having just debt that's hanging out there and no one's paying on it. So either we're eating that as the taxpayer or some private sector entity is eating that as the taxpayer. And so there's no free ride here. There's no real debt forgiveness. There's no student loan forgiveness. That burden is just shifted to someone else. So you're screwing over the people who are supposed to get paid in order to reward the people who were supposed to make the payments, but I just don't feel like it, or I can't do it. And a lot of those people have a legitimate complaint about how they can't make enough money to pay off their student loans. But their ire shouldn't be directed at the taxpayers. It should be directed at the institutions that took the money. The colleges, the universities. All right, real quick, breaking news here. Let me kind of interrupt what I'm doing because this kind of sounds like a big deal. India is attacking Pakistan. You'll hear more at the top of the hour news for younger people. That's when it's zeros. So at 4 o'clock, that's the top of the hour, next top of the hour. So at the 4 o'clock news, there will be more details on that. But the most populous country in the world, India, may now be in a hot war with their very populated adjacent neighbors here. And the scary part about this is they both have nuclear weapons. So, yeah, I'll be digging in on some of that. I'll be listening to Sean's newscast here, and I'll get updated with you and see if I can find anything else about that. But, yeah, that's breaking news. India is attacking Pakistan right now. And no, don't make jokes about it. I know you're tempted to make, well, who's going to do tech support or whatever. Not now. Let's make sure we're not starting off the first nuclear war, and then we'll make jokes. How about that? All right, coming up next. This is so cool. At 4:15, I'm going to talk to the guy who runs the Democrat Party for the state of Texas. Did you hear me? Hello? A Democrat's coming on the show. Not an accidental Democrat or a happenstance Democrat, a professional. The head of the Texas Democrat Party is going to be on this show at 4:15. And I'm going to ask him, are you guys serious? It looks like you're opening the door for another Kamala Harris run in 2028. But if not her, who? Who's on the bench? AOC? Jasmine Crockett? So you and I can speculate about this, but what does the Texas Democratic chairman have to say? That's coming up in the next hour on The James Show. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Well, hey there, fellow Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. All right, I did a little reading on the possible World War III from India, Pakistan, and I say that with tongue-in-cheek hyperbole. It's not going to be World War III, but it's very concerning because there's two of the most populous nations in the world, both of which have nuclear weapons, share borders, so you don't even have to worry about the delivery system. Like, well, even if Iran gets a nuclear bomb, we're safe here in Dallas. But India, Pakistan, they could just chunk it over the border and hit Pakistan. So there is some discrepancy in the reporting. Of course, this just happened 30 minutes ago. Pakistan is saying 3 sites were hit by the Indian military. India says they targeted 9 different sites. So someone's wrong. Who's wrong? I don't know. I'm just telling you what's being reported out here. I'm just passing it along. A couple other things that I found. India put out a statement. They're calling this Operation Sindoor, Sindoor. If you're wondering what a sindoor is, it's not anything you can get at the restaurant. I think that's Tandoor. No, sindoor is that red stuff that they put on their forehead when they get married. So it's just a traditional cultural thing, but since it's of Hindu origin, it kind of contrasts them with their Muslim neighbors over in Pakistan. So there's kind of it's not like an insulting element. It's just sort of a reinforcing tribalism element in the name of the operation. So I guess India's trying to make a point. Will Pakistan get the message? This is all based off of, at least they're saying now, based off a terror attack that happened last week where a tourist area was hit and a whole bunch of people were killed by some Pakistani militants. So in this attack that just happened 30 minutes ago, or was reported 30 minutes ago, by India on Pakistan, they said we're not hitting any military targets. India says we're only aiming at the infrastructure for the terrorist group that did the attack at the tourist trap last week. So there's a little bit of an update as far as that goes. Also, let's see, I had a couple notes here. Reuters said India says it attacked 9 sites in Pakistan. Pakistan says 3. Reuters also added that it's in Pakistani Kashmir, not the sweater, the region. So more details on that as it trickles down and we get more reports. I'll be sure to pass it right along to you on the James Show. All right, coming up in the next segment, let's go ahead and get ready for our next guest because I'm really excited about this. We have the Texas Democratic chairman. His name's Kendall Scudder. And why am I so excited about this? Because I've been asking for a year and a half now, can we get Democrats on the show? And I don't want people who are just Democrat voters. I mean, people that are in the Democrat Party. Elected representatives would be nice, but the Texas Democrat chairman, that's exactly what I've been wanting on the show. So listen, I'm not going to be mean to him. I'm not going to try and embarrass him. This isn't going to be some gotcha moment. We're going to have a friendly chat here because I'm going to want Kendall Scudder to come back on future shows. So I don't want to hear it when you're like, oh, why were you throwing softballs at the guy? Or why did you let him just lie like that? You should have corrected him. I don't understand how you have people like this on your show. You're going to have to trust me. The show is better off this way without me running off everyone who has a different opinion. Thank you very much. So one of the topics we're going to talk about is Kamala Harris has been trotted out there to do her first public speech since losing the election just last week. I was playing it for you on the James Show, and then they were touting some polls that they had, and Kamala Harris is the front runner as it stands right now. Also in the mix, though, AOC and Jasmine Crockett. What does a Texas Democratic chairman think about the situation they're in? Because a lot of people are complaining that the Democrats don't have a bench. The Democrats had their stars that they forced upon people for the last, 3-4 elections here, pretty much since Obama. It's been the Democrat Party that's controlled who the candidate is. You know, they used the super delegates to thwart Bernie and put Hillary up there in 2016. They did the same thing to Bernie for Joe Biden in 2020. And then in 2024, They just told Joe Biden to step down after that terrible debate. And they told you, you're going to vote for Kamala Harris and you're going to like it. There was no primary process or nothing. One of the things that they lost in that process is a bench. One of the things that got cleared out was any rivals to power. So who's it going to be in 2028? I know we still have a long ways to go, but we're going to have the midterms next year, right? In about 18 months. And then right after those midterms are over in November of 2026, it will be the presidential season for 2028. So we're really not that far away. You got to go through a year of the primary process and then a year of the election process. So the presidential election cycle is really a 2-year animal. And so we really are just about 18 months away. And I don't know who they got. You know, here's what I'm going to throw out there just to preview. I'm going to say who I think their candidate should be. And no, they shouldn't listen to me. I don't share their worldview. I'm not a Democrat. I think government should be a lot smaller than it is. But if you were to ask me, James, who could the Democrats put up there that you would despise the least, or that you might even like? Who's a Democrat that, depending on who the Republicans put out there, that you might actually consider voting for? I'll throw those. I have 2 names already in mind. But let me ask you the same question. As I'm about to talk to the Texas Democratic chairman, have you just ruled Democrats out, period, point blank, end of story? Or is there someone that the Democrats could run in 2028 that could win your vote? Because if the Republicans put up dog water again, if they're going to put up like a John McCain or a Mitt Romney or something else awful like that, maybe I would vote for a Texas Democrat. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Coming up next, Kendall Scudder, the Texas Democratic chairman, on The James Show. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Well, hey there, fellow Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Welcoming to the show for the first time, Kendall Scudder. He's the chairman of the Texas Democrat Party. Welcome to the James Show, Kendall.
Thanks so much for having me.
And don't worry, there's not going to be any gotcha moments, or we're not going to try and turn this into some sort of viral moment. First of all, thank you for coming on, because we've just been asking Democrats for a year and a half. I've been on WBAP for a year and a half now to come on the show. And you're the second one that's come on. So first off, thank you very much, Kendall.
I appreciate the opportunity. Thanks for inviting me. We don't have to agree on everything to have a conversation.
Right. Well, let's go ahead and start with the wide look. I know you're the Texas Democrat chairman, but on the national level, there is hints that you're thinking about running Kamala Harris again in 2028. How legitimate is that?
I'm not 100% sure. I really don't have a lot of kind of top secret intel there. What I do know is that the 2028 primary will probably be pretty crowded on the Democratic side, even if Kamala Harris makes the decision to run. Ultimately, the DNC, the state party, the party apparatus, we're not recruiting people into those races. The people who decide to run are going to run, and our job is to make sure that they're treated fairly in that process.
Well, without having any inside information myself, it would appear to most of the outside world that your front runners would be AOC and Bernie Sanders, and maybe even a local favorite here, Jasmine Crockett. Is that about what you're seeing?
I wouldn't necessarily say that they're front runners. I think you're way too far off to be able to say who is and isn't a front runner. But I think we have a really strong bench, right? I think you have folks like Buttigieg and Pritzker and Gretchen Whitmer and Gavin Newsom. They're also there too. I think you're describing people on the left wing of the party. I think that they'd probably be front runners for that section of the party, but we're a pretty ideologically diverse party. And so you'll have people from all over the ideological spectrum from within our party kind of stepping up and trying to stake their claim to the party's messaging.
Yeah, that's kind of my next question is who do you see as next on the bench? And so you just threw out some names there, Buttigieg, Pritzker, Gavin Newsom. But if y'all are looking for sort of your answer to Donald Trump, and that not being him the person, but a successful businessman, billionaire, guy who has name recognition and has media presence, who's maybe hosted a TV show before. You have one right here in town called Mark Cuban. Why not Mark Cuban? Does he not want the job? Because of all the Democrats to run for office, the Democrat that would probably get the most sympathy from me would be Mark Cuban.
Well, look, if Mark Cuban wanted to run, I'm sure he'd have the ability to do that. We're not here to stop anyone from running. We're not here to, from my perspective, I'm a chief primary administrator, right? So we just want to make sure everybody's treated fairly. What I will say is, as a party, we're not out here trying to recreate what y'all have done with Donald Trump. We're not interested in having, billionaires with gold-plated toilets on top of our ticket. I think that the party needs to focus on making sure that we have just authentic messengers that advocate for the working class. That's the section of the party that I come from. I'm an East Texas farm boy, right? So to me, what I'm looking for in a candidate is somebody who gets out of bed every morning and tries to figure out how to make life easier for working people.
Where'd you go to high school?
So I went to high school in Sulphur Springs, Texas.
Yeah, I went to Chapel Hill. So.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, you were in my district my junior and senior year. So.
Oh, well, I'm sorry that we beat you so bad, I'm sure.
Well, you beat us in football, but I played soccer against y'all, and we actually beat you at that. So yeah, it's kind of a push.
It all comes out in the wash, yeah.
All right, we're talking with Kendall Scudder. He's the Texas Democrat chairman. Your thoughts on the election results that just happened over the weekend? Y'all ran the table in Mansfield and what was it, Keller?
Well, I think we had a 11-0 win in Tarrant County with a bunch of different races up there that the Tarrant County Republican Party endorsed in. I'd like to take credit for all of that as the new chairman of the party. But, of course, I think what it really is is people don't really want extremists on their school boards. And I think it works for either direction. They don't want people that are pushing ideological agendas. They just want school districts that function and are responsible with their tax dollars and are making sure that their schools are running appropriately. And when people go too far down those tracks of trying to push their agendas, it starts to piss a community off. And I think that's what you probably saw this most recent election.
So also in Austin right now, we have the legislative session where the Senate seems to be getting a whole lot of stuff done, but the House is just a dumpster fire of non-productivity here. And from the point of view of the average Republican in North Texas, they're pulling their hair out because they got sent down to Austin with a pretty handy majority there, and they're not getting any of the agenda passed, or I should say very little of the agenda pass. So from the point of view of you, Kendall Scudder, as the Texas Democrat chairman, are you celebrating on how good of a job y'all have done in stopping the agenda with just a minority in the House?
Man, I think I have a different opinion of that than you. I'm really frustrated with the Senate because they're sitting on their hands instead of passing things like public school funding increases. The House is moving on what I think was an absolutely terrible public school package with this voucher plan. I would have preferred for them not to have passed that. But, I mean, right now it was supposed to be paired with about a $4 to $5 billion increase on public school funding. And it's just stagnant right now in the Senate because they won't do their jobs. So I don't view that the same way you do. In fact, the House has passed, I think it's like 27 different Senate bills, and only 2 House bills have even come out of the Senate. So they're all just stacking up on Dan Patrick's desk, and he's refusing to move them.
Well, the Senate's passed like 300 bills.
But not House bills.
Right. So they
in order to actually create law.
Right. So, look, that gridlock is, I would think you'd be happy with that because you're the party that's out of power, and the party that's in power with a sizable majority isn't just steamrolling their agenda through. I was giving you credit, Kendall.
Anytime that there is a wedge in the Republican Party, it certainly serves to our advantage. And I love whenever they are fighting over policy because it means that we aren't the only ones in the room that are upset about something, and it allows it to drag a little bit, and we can try to have more opportunities to make it better.
All right. So Donald Trump was on Meet the Press this weekend, and he was talking about your Democrat bench like we were talking about at the beginning of this conversation. I want to get your response to this clip here, Kendall.
Look at the Democrats. They're in total disarray. They have a new person named Crockett. I watched her speak the other day. She's definitely a low IQ person.
Sorry, it'll continue.
They said she's the future of the party. I said, you have to be kidding. I don't know what they're going to do. And I really believe in a two-party system. Because it's good to be challenged. It's really good to have a two-party. It's good. Being challenged is okay. It keeps you sharp. I don't know what they're going to do. They have nobody. Bernie's 87 years old or something.
So I don't expect him to say anything nice about the Democrats, but is there a tinge of truth to that? Do your bench is kind of shallow?
No, I don't think there's any truth to that. And if Donald Trump thinks he's so smart and he's so great, he should go and try to run for Congress in South Dallas against Jasmine Crockett and see how he does.
Yeah, he probably wouldn't win that.
I think we have a great bench of folks who know their communities, who advocate for them. Just because they don't communicate the same way he does, that doesn't mean that they're incompetent or unable to do their jobs. I think we have a very diverse party with a lot of people in it that in our coalition that aren't like each other. And it's hard to balance that and make sure we have a bunch of diverse voices, too, in that process. He doesn't have to like the way that 2 different people communicate, but she does a damn good job. And if he ran against her for Congress in South Dallas, she'd kick his butt.
Yeah, well, if any Republican ran against anybody in South Dallas, they would probably lose. So let's be real here. He speaks low about Jasmine Crockett, but she's not stupid. She's not low IQ. I really think she might be the future of your party because she handles the media so well. Where did she come from? Because we didn't hear about her a year and a half ago.
I agree with you that Jasmine Crockett is not a dumb person. I know her. I know her well, and she's very quick and very savvy. She's a pretty smart person. She came from the state house where she kind of shot up like a rocket ship there. She wasn't even in the state house for very long. They just elevated her pretty quickly. That doesn't happen on accident. You have to be a person who really is connected to their community and is really advocating for them for that to be able to get traction.
All right, I know we only scheduled you for one, but do you have time for another segment?
Sure, I'd be happy to.
Huh? No.
Sure, I'd be happy to.
Okay. What were you saying, Garrett? Okay. Oh, okay. We got to talk about this India-Pakistan thing next. We'll have to have you back on soon because I have about like 4 more questions, but we'll schedule another one coming up soon. Kendall Scudder, Texas Democratic Chairman. Don't be a stranger. All right. Thanks for being on. See, we didn't have to have the battle scene from Braveheart. We can all be adults here. But yeah, updates on the India-Pakistan attack coming up on the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome to the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Had to rearrange our schedule a little bit because in the middle of my show, so rude, they couldn't wait till after the James Show, India announced that they attacked Pakistan. Now, they said they attacked 9 targets in Pakistan. Pakistan says 3 targets were attacked. So already we're having reporting that's not matching up. So to help make some sense of this, Jim Blythe is joining the James Show. Jim Blythe is a third-generation Navy veteran and currently the host of the Veterans Impact Show. Welcome, Jim.
Hey, buddy. How are you doing today?
Better than Pakistan, or at least Pakistani militants, that is. So India was distinct in their language and saying we were attacking just the militant group that did the terror attack last week. We didn't hit any Pakistani military targets. So I guess they're just trying to make sure this thing doesn't escalate. Is that what that's about?
Well, let's go back. This goes way back to when in India, the Muslims went to Pakistan and Bangladesh.
Right. After the whole Gandhi freedom from the British Empire. Right.
Yeah. And there was so much animosity. Then in 1973, Bangladesh had a bunch of, you call them militants, they called them terrorists, that were attacking India. India then attacked them and shut them down in 1973. So this has been going on for a very, very, very long time. And so the same thing was going out of Kashmir, Pakistan, and Pakistan. I checked with a couple of my sources right after I saw this, and they say it's going to be really 24 to 48 hours before we really know what happened in the truth. But India it slammed the door on them and hitting these terrorists. Now, here's the thing, okay? If it was a conventional war, India would be all over Pakistan and it would be probably over. But you've got 2 nuclear superpowers there, Pakistan and India, both equipped with nuclear weapons. And if Pakistan was all out attacked and then they threw a nuclear weapon, all hell would break loose in that part of the world. And just think about it for a minute. There is a really serious threat to world peace, in my opinion, from the fact that you got 2 nuclear powers that hate each other so much, that share borders, and Pakistan, we've known this for a long time. They're collaborating and they're supporting these terrorists that are doing bad things and shooting stuff into India. What we don't know is how well equipped they are, whether or not they're using cyber technology and cyber warfare, or whether or not they're using drones. It said it was missiles. One said it was so many, the other said it's 5. CNN says one thing, Reuters says another.
Yep.
Nobody really knows because this just happened. I'm not worried about what just happened. What's going to keep me up late tonight is what's next, because if Pakistan throws a nuclear weapon, we got real trouble. So that's where I think we need to stand by and watch and see what happens.
Well, Jim Blythe, we're talking with Jim Blythe from the Veterans Impact Show. The problem I see with this is there's just so many targets. India is the most populous country in the world. Pakistan's number 5. And if you want to throw in Bangladesh, their number 8, as tiny as they are. So could there be a worse place to have a nuclear war?
Well, in my backyard, yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess Dallas would be worse. Good point. Solid point there. Let me ask it a different way. Is there any way this could spill out and turn into a world war?
Yeah, I think it could, because basically you've got the Soviet Union that's been backing terrorist groups. We know they backed a lot in Iran. Pakistan and Iran, I think, are closely allied. This could get out of hand in a big hurry if it went nuclear. If it goes conventional, I think it'll be over, kind of like the one that was in Azerbaijan a couple of years ago. But if it goes nuclear, that's the real threat. And could it go to a world war? Yeah. I mean, let's face it. You start throwing those things around and all hell's going to break loose. And you don't have two cultures that are really calm, cool, and collected. They got nothing to lose. They hate each other so much, it's ridiculous.
Well, Jim Blythe, I also saw that you had the honor of emceeing the 50th commemoration of the end of the Vietnam War at the Medal of Honor Museum. I haven't even been in there yet. I guess I got to go.
You got to go. I think it's good. I think they're learning. They're learning about a whole lot of things. It's really beautiful. It's really unique. I'd take a weekday and go there and go on a tour. I got to tell you the truth. I've done 2 events there now, and I have not had a chance to go up and actually go through the museum because I've been working there both times. But that is a beautiful place. And the commemoration of basically the fall of Saigon, we were able to honor a large number of Vietnamese people and say thank you, that you've come to this country and you've contributed a lot. So that was an honor for me to be a part of.
All right. Well, Jim Blythe, Veterans Impact Show, thank you very much for helping out with this breaking news on India, Pakistan. If you want to see more of his show, there's a lot of good videos on the Facebook page for the Veterans Impact Show. And I didn't check YouTube. You got a bunch of stuff on YouTube too?
Yeah, YouTube, and we're on DBTV .TV network, and we're just getting out there to try and help people. So it's all about hope, help, and healing.
All right. Sounds like a noble ambition. I appreciate your expertise in the breaking news, Jim Blythe. Appreciate it, sir. Come back sometime.
All right, buddy.
There he is. That's Jim Blythe. Veterans Impact Show is what it's called. Coming up next, if there's any new information on the India-Pakistan situation, I'll update you on that. And if I have some time, I'm going to share some feedback from listeners on the topics we were talking about on the show earlier. Just stuff that I think you'll get a chuckle at. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Well, hey there. Welcome back to the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. We covered a lot today on the show, and I want to share with you some feedback on a couple of the bigger topics that we had. First, I had an email from John on the issue of the Trump Pope picture. If you weren't listening earlier, I can summarize really quick. Over the weekend, Donald Trump posted on Truth Social an AI-generated picture of himself dressed up as the Pope. And some people were telling you that you're supposed to be offended by that because the Pope just died and he's mocking Christianity and his Holy Father and whatnot. Oh, stop it. No one's offended by that. Christians aren't offended by that. There's no Catholics that are offended by that unless they already hated Trump before. It's not like someone changed their mind because they saw. It's not an offensive picture. And I remember when I was laughing at it this weekend, I think I saw on Sunday, someone like one of the Krasenstein brothers was trying to make a point, and he made an AI-generated picture of Obama as the Pope. They're like, well, if Trump as the Pope doesn't offend you, what about this? Well, yeah, that doesn't offend me either. Duh. You don't get it, do you? So John says on the Trump Pope picture situation, he says, good afternoon, James. You should be offended, they say. That's in quotes. You should be offended, they say. Nah, offense is a choice. If one can take offense, one can choose not to take offense. Offense is not an emotion. It's a cognitive response. For years now, I've chosen not to take offense, not to be offended, and it served me very well. Yeah, that's something you see. Like, you do choose to be offended. There's people in the media, people who share my skin tone, that if you tell them, hey, there's a famous guy who got caught on a microphone saying the N-word, they don't know if they're going to be offended until they find out the race of the guy who said it. So it's a total choice. Like, you turn this switch in your head. Okay, well, now I'm offended. And I don't know if I'm just missing a gene or I don't have fully developed adult emotions, but I don't have that reaction to pretty much anything. Like, man, I can't remember the last time I was offended. I'm sure there's something out there that I find offensive, but it's never anything that I get accused of. Oh, people tell me you're offended by such and such. No, I'm not. Well, why do you find such and such so offensive? I don't. I disagree with it. I'm not offended by it. Like homophobia, I'm not scared of gay people. You just don't agree with my political position on some nuanced policy. You don't have to make me a bad person over it, but I kind of feel the same way about offense. You choose whether or not you're offended. I'm not sure if there's a word you could throw at me where it's like, oh yeah, well, them's fighting words. Oh, did you say this super secret offensive word? Now I have to risk going to jail for assault and battery to prove my point. You don't have that power over me. I'm not giving it to you. I'm not offended. I love that attitude, John. The other email comes from Steven, and it's from a different topic. Trump had proposed reopening Alcatraz. It's going to have to be remodeled, of course. We got to bring it up to date. But since we're in there building already, the proposal that a lot of people have been laughing about online is let's make it like a celebrity prison, and you could have tours in there. And I was saying you could embed cameras in there and make it like a reality show, and you can see who's going to stab Jared from Subway today. You know, there'd be all kinds of fun reality shows that could pop up out of it. Steven says, how about a proposed bed and breakfast facility for future inmates and criminal hacks, including a swimming pool, garden parties, room service, and ferry boat rides to boot, along with movie star cameos, among other things. Okay, so do the inmates stay at the bed and breakfast, or do you and I and Sean, when we go visit Alcatraz, do we stay in the bed and breakfast? Because I think if you're thinking in the terms of the reality show, you know, you can make them do like little missions or like physical challenges, like from Double Dare, and whoever wins gets to go into the swimming pool or to have a garden party while they're in Alcatraz. So you could see the physical challenge competition between, I don't know, Joe Exotic and R. Kelly or whatever, and whoever wins gets to stay at the bed and breakfast facility. They get room service that night. Wouldn't this be a great reality show? Think of all the trash that passes for reality shows these days. Oh, we've got Cajun Pawn Stars. Oh, that's a show? You mean to tell me that there's a market for that, but not for the Real Housewives of Alcatraz or House Husbands or whatever, Real Criminals of Alcatraz? We'll work on the name, but it's a good idea. Steven, love it. Thank you. If you have any more feedback, james@wbap.com is my email. But truth be told, 80% of the people who communicate with me these days will use Facebook Instant Messenger. I don't know why. That's the default setting for my crowd, but I'll go with that. Stick around. Coming up next is the Mark Levin Show. But if you need more James Show action, and when I get out of here, I'm about to go put up the podcast. You can find it where you're already listening to podcasts, but I prefer if you go to the WBAP app, or if you're on a desktop computer, go to WBAP.com. Either way, just go listen to it. Tell someone about the James Show. Find me on Facebook and Twitter and all the social medias. Like, subscribe, share. Help me grow this thing. I like this job, and I want to keep it. I'm James Parker. This has been The James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.